Hi, folks. Did you know that your stimulus check, the check you got in for the IRS, is tainted with the blood of the unborn? Did you know that the Hyde protections were taken off of the recent stimulus bill? You're listening to your radio activist here, Mark Harrington. We're out front of Planned Parenthood here in Columbus, Ohio today. Our team is out here sidewalk counseling, but I'm coming to you because the stimulus bill that was passed in Congress, which is called the American Rescue Plan, again, it's Orwellian, American Rescue Plan of 2021, has kind of flown under the radar of a lot of pro-life activists that we didn't realize that in this bill, for the first time, the Hyde protections were stripped from it, meaning that this bill can fund abortion. This is the first time ever that we're aware of that an appropriation bill has included abortion funding. The Hyde Amendment was passed in 1976. The author of the bill was Henry Hyde, and those protections have been in place now for almost 50 years. Of course, the Biden administration has said that they're going to repeal the Hyde Amendment. That hasn't happened yet, but in the appropriations bill, this so-called American Rescue Plan of 2021, those Hyde protections were stripped. In other words, that bill, that $1.9 trillion bill, includes abortion funding. That means that Planned Parenthood will be receiving funding that no longer limits the use of it to not go for abortions. And so the reason I'm coming here, I want to exhort our people in this movement to take that stimulus check, at least half of it or a portion of it or the whole thing, and rather than go out and spend it on something frivolous, which is what the government wants you to do, to go out and buy stuff, rather that, give it to a pro-life organization like Created Equal. To me, that would be the best use of that money. And so that's why I'm coming to you today. So this bill, this American Rescue Plan, was passed a couple of weeks ago. The checks are starting to arrive in people's mailboxes as well as in your bank account where the IRS is depositing them. Representative Chris Smith, who's the co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus, said this. He called the bill, quote, a radical departure from all previous COVID-19 relief laws. So we know during the Trump administration, there were a couple of pro-COVID relief laws. In those, their Hyde protections were kept in place because the Senate, we had a majority in the Senate of Republicans, but no longer is that the case. This last bill included abortion funding. He goes on to say that the exclusion of the pro-life language in the bill is, quote, a radical departure from all previous COVID laws. It mandates taxpayer funding of abortion on demand. So people say, well, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been funding Planned Parenthood. This is true, but the Hyde protections have been in place for 50 years. This is a big deal. It really is a big deal. The fact that we've been paying Planned Parenthood and our tax dollars have been going to it for non-abortion related so-called services doesn't make it right that we should now be funding abortion. And so people say, oh, I've been paying my taxes forever. I've been funding abortion, whether directly or indirectly, for a long time. Why should I care? Well, here's why you should care. Because it's wrong even in the past to do that. It's wrong now, even more so. These Hyde protections are a big, big deal that they're coming off. And we can only, unfortunately, project forward to see that the more than likely any appropriations bills going forward are going to likely include abortion funding. So, folks, I'm exhorting you to give that stimulus check to a pro-life organization. I can think of no better one than Created Equal, but, that's up to you. And if that's what I'm going to do, my wife and I have decided we're not going to take the money. We're going to give the money away. And I think you should do that as well. Now, a lot of people say, hey, Mark, that sounds awful opportunist. You're coming on talking about the Hyde Amendment. You're just wanting to raise money. No, that's not what this is about. I think Christians need to begin to draw a line in the sand and say, funding abortion through the Hyde Amendment or by repealing the Hyde Amendment is going to be my line. Now, I can't tell you where your line is. I can only make my own. But I think we, as people of conscience, of people of faith who follow Jesus Christ, we got to begin to draw these lines, or we are going to say we are going to go no further. And there needs to start to be a conversation in the pro-life circles in the church as to where we are going to say no when it comes to the following unlawful laws, unjust edicts. And certainly funding abortion is one of those things that we need to begin to think about drawing the line. Now I get pushback, when I posted this the other day on my social media sites, people say, well, Jesus said, render under Caesar what is Caesar's. And they'll say, well, Jesus was operating under Roman occupation. They were a wicked government. This is true. This is true. I don't think Jesus was saying carte blanche, follow Caesar, render under Caesar what is Caesar's without limitation, because you can't take that statement by Jesus himself out of the context of the rest of the Bible, because we all understand what Romans 13 speaks of. Romans 13 says that the minister of God is a minister for good. There are limitations as to what this minister of God can do. It also says that the rulers are a terror on those who do evil and uphold those who do good. So even in the midst of Paul's day, the Apostle Paul, when he wrote Romans 13, he was living in a time of Roman rule, and they were a wicked government. But he yet said that the civil government should bring the sword against those who do evil, and that they are a minister of God for good. And so the question becomes, when the civil government no longer is a minister of God to do good, are we obligated to follow it, to follow the edicts and the rules and the laws of an unjust, evil civil government? And so I think it's up to every Christian to determine where we draw that line. But we are quickly, very rapidly going down a path where Christians need to start saying, no, I'm not either going to pay my taxes, or I'm not going to pay taxes that fund the things that I object to. There is a way to maybe do that. And I think in this case, where the government is giving a stimulus check, so-called, out, we can clearly say this bill, this $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that has no protections for funding abortion, we can turn it around and use it for good. Take that money and give it to a pro-life organization. If you don't think the Hyde Amendment is important, Professor Michael New, who's with the Lozier Institute, has written and done studies on the impact of the Hyde Amendment. He says that since 1976, over 50 years now, close to 50 years since it was passed, the Hyde Amendment, that it has saved 2 million babies. So when you fund something, it happens more often. If you fund abortion, there's going to be more abortions. If you decrease funding for abortion, there tends to be less of it. You subsidize something, people do more of it. I mean, that's the point. And so Michael New's information here, I think, speaks to the idea that lives are on the line when the government begins to fund abortion. And so what I'm saying here today is take that money and give it to a pro-life organization. Take that stimulus check and either give all of it or some of it to your favorite pro-life group, and maybe that'll include Created Equal. We can use it to do what we're doing out here today, and that is we've got some folks out sidewalk counseling and witnessing to women going on the inside here. As you can see here, we have our sign. We're in front of the Planned Parenthood here in Columbus. We have a sidewalk counselor over here. Ava's over here on the side here, sharing the truth about abortion and the gospel with people that go inside. So folks, it's time that we just start taking things a little bit more serious, because we lose credibility when we don't stand up for life. We don't stand up for the principles of Scripture. Funding abortion is evil. The government's been doing it indirectly over the years with Title X funding. But now, with the removal of the Hyde Amendment in these quote unquote relief bills for COVID, is a step beyond what we have allowed for the last 50 years. And we're going to see more of it from the Biden administration. There's no question. They've already talked about repealing it altogether in these appropriations bills, which fund the different departments and agencies of the U.S. government. So, and the fact of the matter is, Planned Parenthood is going to receive money from the stimulus bill, and there will be no Hyde protections on that, so they can use that directly to fund abortion. So folks, if you want to give to Created Equal, you can go to our page at createdequal.org, or go to my page, markharrington.org. There's a donate link on the side. You can click and go ahead and give your stimulus check or a portion of it to our organization. We'd very much appreciate that if you could. Use it for good, because this so-called stimulus bill stimulates abortion. I don't know. Does it stimulate the economy? Probably. I mean, if you flush the economy with free money, people are going to go out and spend it. That's pretty simple to figure out. But also, if you stimulate abortion by giving Planned Parenthood money, it's going to add to the body count, and we don't want to do that. Let's stimulate life. Let's use the stimulus check to actually stimulate life by giving to your favorite pro-life organization. So that's the action step I have for you today. Again, Mark Harrington here, coming to you from Planned Parenthood in Columbus. We're out here sidewalk counseling today, and I wanted to take the opportunity to exhort you and challenge you to do good with the stimulus money. That money that was meant for evil and will be funding Planned Parenthood's abortion killing, use that for good and give it to your favorite pro-life organization. Beyond that, folks, we need to start thinking seriously about not paying our income taxes, or figuring out a way to not pay the portion that would go to funding abortion. The idea that the Hyde Amendment is likely going to be repealed is right on the horizon. I can tell you, probably within the first year, or whether it may be in the next several months, there will be an attempt to finally to repeal the Hyde Amendment. So we need to be prepared for this, folks. It's not just about calling your legislators or your U.S. senators. We need to do that too. But the bottom line is they're ramming these bills through with 49-50 votes, and they have Kamala Harris to break the tie. So they're in the business right now, just ramming through this type of legislation. And I don't want to be totally pessimistic here, but I think it's highly likely that the Hyde Amendment's going to be repealed in the next appropriations bill. And of course, there's talk right now by the Biden administration that they're going to have a $4 trillion infrastructure bill. Now, you can't even get your head around what $4 trillion is. So in the matter of about 60 days, the Biden administration's possibly going to spend, or print money is a better way of putting it, $6 trillion and send it into the economy. And my guess is this next bill, this infrastructure bill, if you want to call it that, which it won't be that. I mean, he's just going to be paying off his political cronies with the money, will not have high protections on it either. And it's time for us to stand up and say, no, we're not going to be part of that. We're not going to be complicit in the killing of unborn babies. I know that, again, we are indirectly in many other ways, and we can't fight every battle, but this is a battle we need to start taking up and say, no longer will we fund abortion directly with our tax dollars. And the one way to do that is to donate that check, that stimulus check, to pro-life organizations like Created Equal. So folks, that's why I'm here today, to exhort you to give that money to Created Equal or your favorite pro-life group, instead of spending it, on some, I don't know, some electronic toy or some car or whatever. give it. I mean, if you need it, I guess you got to use it. But most Americans don't need it right now, I would say, after all the money that the government's been pumping out over the last year. So before we go, I want people to understand where we are. We're in front of the Planned Parenthood here in Columbus, and we are sidewalk counseling. That means that we have people here that are sharing information with the parents that go inside in order to deter them from killing their child. That's why we're here. We come out here several days a week. We use abortion victim photography, as you can see here, to let people know that are going inside, this is what a baby's going to look like after you kill it. We find that's very, very effective. And so that's why we're here today at Planned Parenthood. So folks, to summarize, use your stimulus money for good. Give it to a pro-life organization. If you want to give it to Created Equal, we'd be blessed with that money. Believe me, we'll use it to save lives, to stimulate life, not to stimulate abortion. So we'll see you next time. God bless you. God bless America. And remember, America, to bless God.
You've been listening to Mark Harrington, your radio activist. For more information on how to become a witness against the evil plague in America, call Created Equal at 614-269-7808. That's 614-269-7808. Or go online to createdequal.net. Createdequal.net. Be sure to tune to the Mark Harrington Show next time for your marching orders in the culture war.